Yes, please. TechnoSpark 7. Hello. Welcome all.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening. Ali. Uh, are all able to hear me properly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening to all. So, without wasting any of us time, let's begin the session. So, can you just name yourself, TechnoSpark, and the ID which is there, 3DE0B8454? Yeah, please, TechnoSpark, you want to say something? I hope everyone is able to hear me. Let's start the meeting. Uh, okay. So welcome friends. Very good evening to all. I hope you had a great day today. So it's a Eid, right? So very happy Eid to you, all of you. And may God give you love and prosperity in your life. So friends, let's begin today's session with the introduction of the Profelper.com. Most of you all are already aware about the have information about the Profelper.com, what Profelper is. So basically, Profelper is an organization which is providing technical and professional training to the corporate employees. Profelper.com has designed a program for the people who are keen to learn Excel, and I would like to thank Profelper for giving me this opportunity to share my Excel experience with you guys. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Satish Kumar. I have been working with the corporates for the last 18 years. So right. So for the members who all are new here, I just want to tell them a brief about the meeting. So we'll take the question at the end of the meeting. So if you have any questions or query, you can just keep them with you. We will take them once our session is over. We will give you 5 minutes at the meeting end, right? So let's begin. So this advanced Excel essential training is basically designed for the people who are already familiar with Excel's basic. They know about the commands available in Excel. Like they know about they have information about the worksheet, workbooks, columns, rows, and etc. And they have information about the data tables and all. So let's begin today's session. This is a day one basically for the advanced Excel training. And in today's session, what we are going to learn. So we will understand about the array and ranges. We will also cover some function, the relative reference, absolute and mixed references. So right, these all topics will be covered in today's meeting. Correct. So let's move on to the practical file. So this is our Excel file basically, which we are going to use in today's session. So let's start. So first topic of today's session is understanding of arrays and ranges. So what are the arrays and ranges in Excel? This is very important part, right? So if you are learning Excel, as I told you, I tell this always that to everyone. So if you are learning Excel, you need to know each and everything. So whichever is available in Excel, you need to know, you need to have that information with you. So array and range is also very important part of Excel. So what is a range? What is a range? You see this worksheet, right? We have some data. We have a employee record data with us. We have employee IDs, employee names, department salary, joining date, and reporting time. So this entire data is a range, right? So whatever data we have employee IDs, employee name. So this entire data is a range, correct? So if I click here, if I click here, if I click here, right? These are cells. You already have this information. So these are cells. When I select starting from this particular cell to here, this becomes a range. this becomes a range of this particular data set. And when I select this range, so whatever task you perform in Excel, it will be done within this range only, not outside this range. So suppose if you, what you can do by after selecting your range, you can decrease the size, you can increase the size, you can change the color of the font, you can fill the color, right? You can do whatever things. There are many things which can be done by selecting a range. So this we called a range. Basically range basically uh, range is considered to be as a set of elements, a collection of the elements which are physically available in your data, right? Because these numbers are physically available, we can just delete and we can just insert, we can just type anything. So this entire data set is comes under the range. And what are arrays? So now arrays are also very important part. So arrays are what, whenever your range is right. Suppose I let me just tell you this again. So suppose I have selected this range from B6 to G15, right? I have selected this particular range. So there is an area. So the area defined. Whenever you select a range, there is an area defined, a specific area. So this area will be B6 to G15, right? So this range, whenever you put this any range in a formula, that becomes an array. So whenever you put any range, I'm repeating this again. So whenever you put any range reference basically in a formula, that becomes an array. So let's see the practical example of this. So we'll put the equal to sign. This is the basic symbol of starting any formula. So I've just put the equal to sign. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just selecting this entire salary column. I've selected it. I press the enter. If you see, this entire range has come up. See, this is not a range basically, this is an array, right? How will you differentiate this is whether this is an array or a range? So see, if I click here, we cannot see, we can just see the values only. In formula bar itself, we can just see the value whichever is available in this particular cell, right? But in case of whenever we we work with the arrays, you see, if I am clicking here, you can see only the formula, not any value, right? Only formula is visible, right? If I in a range, if I delete something, it will get deleted from the range, not from the array. So it will get deleted from the range because your array is depending on this particular range, correct? So this array, so suppose I want to I am just pressing this delete. If I click here at delete, I press the delete, nothing happens. See, nothing happens because you cannot change any array. You cannot change it. You can change your range, but you cannot change your array. So by using array, what you can do, you can perform multiple functions. You can perform multiple calculations. So whenever Excel performs any calculation, it performs on the array, not on the range. You need to just keep this in mind. So whenever Excel performs on the any function or any formula, it performs that calculation specifically on the array, not on any particular range, correct? Suppose if I type here, if I suppose I type something, I type Profelper, you see the array range is basically gone. Basically array is gone here. It is not gone, it is there only. It is there in this particular cell, right? It is there in J7, but you cannot see it because Excel doesn't have any sufficient area to show array, right? In previous version, what used to happen in the previous versions of the Excel, there was no information about the array, and there was no visual picture of the arrays. The array will be only will used to exist in the cell only, that particular cell, whichever in which you put the formula, you enter the formula. So similarly, as we have put the formula in the J7 cell, so your array is available in this particular cell only, nowhere else, right? What I'll do, if I just delete the text, array comes up again. So now use this array with the help of sum function. See, so I put the sum, start the bracket, close the bracket, hit the enter, you get your answer. See what Excel has done basically. So Excel has performs a calculation based on the sum function on the range available here and made that range an array, right? So that is an array. Now define what is the definition of an array. So whatever array is a list of elements, available in computer's memory, not physically in your worksheet. So your arrays are always available in computer's memory and you can perform multiple calculations on your arrays. See, now what we have calculated, we have calculated the total salary of all the employees. If we want to calculate, we want to count it, we want to use the count function. So what I have done, I have just used the count function, I press the enter, you see. So why 20 is showing? Because count function counts the number of items in your range. So it has counted. So we have 20 odd records in this particular data set. So with the help of array, you can use multiple functions, right? So let's move on to the next topic. So now we have another sheet. Basically, we have some different type of data in this particular sheet. So our next topic is the sum function. So how does the sum function work? Basically, everyone knows it. Whoever learns Excel knows about the sum function, because it is the simplest one, simplest formula and formula of the Excel. Everyone knows about it. How to use sum function, and it can be said that it is the easiest formula, right? So how to use the sum function? You just put the equal to sign, type the sum keyword, start the bracket, and select your whatever your criteria range, and close the bracket, hit the enter, you get your answer. This is the how sum function work. So what is the specialty here? Like what is the what is the key thing today we are going to discuss with the sum function? You need to understand this. How does the sum function performs? Basically, as I told you earlier, some function performs some function performs on the array you provide to it. See, this is an array because this is a range. When we put this range into a function, that becomes an array. So what Excel has done, Excel has calculated the numbers for us based on the range and the array which we provided to it. Correct? So there are multiple options, and there are multiple ways to use the sum function. I delete this. Suppose now I want to use the sum function in a different way. So this is the another way to use a sum function. What you can do, you can you can select the each item one by one. So suppose I have selected this IT department's cost, put the comma, now select the admin department cost, put the comma again, now select the finance, and so on. We can select the other elements as well. So see, Excel also gives us the result. So what is the difference in it between this and by putting comma? I need to tell you this. So colon basically tells you this colon. So this colon tells you that your range is starting from C7 and going till C12, right? So basically this becomes 2 from point A to point B, right? Colon tells you about the 2 and comma tells you about end. Basically, when we use this sum function in this way, sum comma this item comma this item comma another item. Why? Because I have put the dot sign, sorry. So what does it mean? So we are telling Excel, we are asking Excel to calculate the numbers. Just let me zoom. Just Yeah. So now here we are asking Excel to calculate the numbers for C12 and C11 and C10. So comma consider as an and colon consider as two, right? You got it right? So sum, what we'll do, we'll just select in this way and press the enter, we get our answer. So what we are asking Excel to do, so we are asking Excel to calculate the values starting from C7 to C12. So this is how sum function works, right? There are also multiple ways, we will know it. So now with the help of sum function, we will know about the relative function, relative reference, my bad, relative reference, absolute reference, and mixed reference. What are these all three references? So relative reference, we need to understand the relative reference basically. So relative references are, let me just show you the example first. If I copy this formula and paste it here, our values has changed and Excel has given us the result based on this criteria on this particular column G, and for the month of May of year 2020 to 2020. So Excel has calculated a different amount here because your range has changed. So your range is different in this formula. Why so? Because this is the relative formula, relative reference, basically relative reference. So what is the meaning of relative reference? So relative reference, basically whenever you copy a formula and paste into another cell or any row or column, it changes its nature based on the corresponding column and the row wherever it is pasted. Is it clear? No, let I just repeat this again. So a relative reference basically change its nature based on the corresponding column and row wherever it is pasted. So if I paste this formula here, Excel, the relative reference change its nature, and the corresponding column, as its corresponding column is column K, is it has given us the result from column K, right? From column K to row number K7 to row number K12. So this is how the relative function works, correct? There's a one more important thing I need to tell you. So whenever you copy a formula from one place to another, you need to understand that, suppose I am selecting this particular range. I just select, let me just select it here. So I just put some random number, right? I just selected this 45 and 20. What I'm doing, I'm just selecting these two numbers and hit the enter, we get our answer. Now what is the difference? What is the main thing in this? So if you see what we have done, we have put in this formula in row number 21, correct? And column J, basically H21. We have put in this formula in H21, and our criteria range is H17 and H18. What we have done, we have skipped two rows here. If you see, we have skipped, we have not included these two rows in our function basically. So when you will copy this formula and paste somewhere else, Excel will do the same. It will do, it will change the reference of this particular range to, by skipping two rows, because we skipped two rows here when we entered the formula for the first time. It will skip the two rows and calculate the number for the from the range of first two cells which we selected and give you the result. Why zero here? Because nothing is there in these two cells, right? So that's why you need to keep this in mind. Whichever your criteria you have selected, whichever the reference you have selected, Excel will also copy and paste it in another cell in a similar way. If you have skipped two cells, it will also Excel will also skip two cells or three cells, whatever you are skipping, right? You need to just keep this in mind. So this is how the relative reference works. So what I'll do, I'll just drag this to the right. We get answer for all the months, rest of the months, right? We have calculated the total cost for rest of the years as well. So what we have done, we have just calculated the entire cost. So this is how the relative reference was. Now see the example of absolute reference. What is the absolute reference basically? So I have just deleted because I have already calculated it. So what we need to calculate here in this particular example, we need to calculate the total cost for IT department, purchase, finance, operation, admin, and sales. For all the department, we need to calculate the total cost. What is the total cost? The aggregate amount, the aggregate value of 2020, 21, and 22. So what? How you can just calculate? As I told you, there are multiple ways. Let me just show you all the ways. So what we'll do is the sum function. What you can do? So what we'll select this particular range in 22. Oh my bad. Okay, no problem. So what we are doing? Just give me a second. Okay. So sum function we have selected, as we want to calculate the total sales for all the years. First, we will select the range for only for 2020. Put the comma. Now go back, go to the 2021 data. Now select this range again for the 21. Now put the comma again. Now select the range for the year 2022. So what I'm doing, I'll just select this and close the bracket, hit the enter, we get our answer. So see, so this is how we have calculated total sales amount, total cost amount basically. So what is the difference? Is it correct? No, it is not correct. The answer is correct, but the way we performed our function, we calculate the number, that is not correct. It could be done in a easiest way. So we call it. So first, let me just tell you about this function which we have used here. This is a static sum function. This can be said, this can be considered as a static sum function. Why static? Because we have just selected a specific range. We have not selected an entire range, entire column, or entire row. We have just selected a specific range. So that's why we call it a static range reference. Right now we calculate the numbers in different way, the easiest way. We put the equal to sign, put the sum function keyword, start the bracket. Now what we'll do, we select this entire row. What we have done, we have selected an entire row, hit the enter, you get your answer. See, so you got your answer, right? So now in this case, what you have not done, your task is minimized. So you do not need to select the different year ranges one by one. Suppose our data is used whenever we go in the next year, like 20, 23, 24, our data will become huge, and it will be impossible for us to go manually one by one to each year and calculate the numbers. So how you can calculate? You can just use this function. What we have done here, we have selected an entire row. So this is called a dynamic sum function, dynamic range reference basically. So this is how we can just calculate our numbers. What we will do, we'll just drag this down and we'll get the answer of all the departments, right? Friend, there is a little twist here for today's session. This session will end in next 5 minutes. What you can do, you can just relog in it. Right, I'm there only, so we'll do this session in two parts. So it will end automatically in next 5 minutes. If it ends automatically, what you can do, you can just relog in the session, right? Got it? Is it
Okay, sir.
okay? Please relog in. So what we have done here, we have just calculated by using the dynamic range reference. So this is how. So now we have got our results. So what is problem now? So if this report, you are making this report, right? You are the owner of this report, but you left the organization, or you are on leave. Sometimes you are on leave and you are not available in office, or your colleague or your counterparts works on this report. What he or she what she does, she copy this and paste it here and put admin here, right? If you see this result, this is wrong, because in the admin field we have the total for finance, and in the finance we have total of purchase. This is wrong. This is a wrong result basically. So how do we make it correct? Right? So we will use the absolute range reference. How to make a relative range reference if you are not putting anything else, anything here, so that it's a relative range reference. When you put, so we will make this relative range reference an absolute range reference. How? So what we'll do, we'll just put the dollar sign before the row number. So what we have done, we have just put the dollar sign before the row number. So I just press the enter. So now what I need to do, first I need to correct this, right? So what I need to just, copy this because our data should be similar, right? And first we calculate our value in a correct way, right? Our numbers are correct. So now we will make this range reference an absolute reference. So by putting dollar sign before your row number, right? So we need to just do it manually one by one. So right, what we have just put the dollar sign here, here, that, and here. If you see your data is changed, we have just changed the range reference by making it a absolute range reference. If I copy this particular field and paste it here, see, so what I have done, I have put the operation at position number 3. We'll check, is this answer is correct or not. If I press F2C, the total which we have is for operations only. Why? Because we have made this range reference an absolute range reference. So basically what an absolute range reference is, which doesn't change like relative range reference changes. So an absolute range reference becomes constant by putting dollar sign before the column or row number, right? So that becomes an absolute range reference by putting dollar sign before the column or row number. So that becomes basically constant. That will never change. You can just, if you just copy this and paste here, so you get your answer, correct answer. See why it is not changing? Because we have changed it. We have convert this relative range reference to an absolute range reference. So this is how we make an relative range reference and absolute range reference, right? So this is the absolute range reference. Now we will see the mix of mixed range reference. What is the mixed range reference and how does it work? So basically mixed range reference is a combination of absolute range reference and relative range reference. So in this case, your column, either your column or row will be constant, and the other element, it could be row or it could be row or your column, will be relative, and other element will be constant or absolute. So that is called a mixed range reference. So let's see the example of this. So now here we need to calculate the share, the cost each department is taking basically. So what is the formula? We'll just select this, divided by sum of all these items, right? Those are bracket hit, enter, we get our answer. So it is 14%. If I just drag this down, your numbers are not correct, right? Because see, it is a relative, it is changing. So we need to make this a mixed range reference basically. So here if you see, our C8 will be same because we want to calculate the share for all these departments. So this will not be changed. This will be as it is. What we need to do, we need to just make this range reference and absolute reference. So what I have done, I just clicked the F2, I have just pressed the F2 button from the keyboard. I have just selected this range reference and press the F4 from the keyboard. You need to just press the F4 from the keyboard, press the enter, you get your answer. If I just drag this down, see, this is the actual share for the each department. right? So why this is a mixed range reference basically? So let me just what I need to do. I'll just put the dollar sign here because uh, we do not need to change the column. Only row will be changed because our data is in other rows, right? So that's why we call it a mixed range reference. See, because here only column is constant, row is relative. This is how we calculate this, right? Now go to the next topic. The next example of the sum